My mission is simple: to make you money. I'm here to level the playing field for all investors. There's always a bull market somewhere, and I promise to help you find it. Mad Money starts now.
Hey, I'm Cramer. Welcome to Mad Money. Welcome to Cramerica. Other people want to make friends. I'm just trying to make you some money. My job is not just to entertain, but to educate. It's to teach. It's to inform. It's to put it into context. So call me at 1-800-743-CNBC or tweet me at Jim Cramer. Okay, everyone's focused on the Fed right now, and with good reason. I mean, they just gave us that quarter-point rate cut that we wanted so badly, right? And that gave gave a nice boost to the averages. And Dow was up 115 points. S&P was up 0.33%. NASDAQ up 0.33%. Interesting synergy there, huh? But as important as the Federal Reserve might be, can we just say that it's not the only thing that matters? There are a lot of constraints on companies these days that have nothing to do with the Fed. And after hearing from Apple and Facebook after the bell, can you imagine these two huge companies tonight? You know what? It's head-scratching. I mean, they're up, but not enough. So I think we got to devote more attention to a couple things in particular that I've never really talked about on this show. We need to spend more time talking about the lack of time to consume all there is out there, and we need to spend more time talking about the government, meaning the newfound menace of government when it comes to classic, digitized now, big business. While Facebook and Apple both reported strong numbers, I think their stocks should have been up much more than they are in after hours. I mean, they're good, but I expected great. You know what? I'm sensing some skepticism here. Skepticism creeping in about both of them. And I suspect some of it has to do with the twin constraints of time and government. So we're going to define these. What do I mean by them? All right, let's start with time. This one's simple. There are only so many hours in a day. Lately, it feels like we're constantly hearing about new television or entertainment or sports packages that you can stream over the internet for $5 to $15 a month. Each of these services offers thousands of hours of programming: Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, Peacock, CBS, All Access, Showtime, Starz, Cinemax, you name it. I mean, then you got the Electronic Arts and the Activision, the Take-Two, and you can play them on systems made by Sony or Microsoft, Nintendo. You can sign up for the NFL Sunday Ticket. Watch all the football you need. You can sit on your couch and scroll through your Instagram feed while ordering delivery from nearby restaurants, including Wingstop, which we have one tonight. And you can get the same-day delivery or next-day delivery from Amazon unless you prefer to buy online and pick up in the store at Costco or Walmart. But you know what we don't have? We don't have enough hours in a day to enjoy all the stuff that I just talked about. Not enough time, even if you quit your job and learn how to go without sleep, the latter of which I've got down cold. We also don't have a one-stop shop where everything's at your fingertips, which brings us to the second, more powerful limitation: the government. The regulators don't want any of these companies to create a one-stop shop because then they'd be too powerful. When it comes to FAANG, my acronym for Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google now, time and government are far more important to their future earning streams than the Fed or the trade war with China. They are. But I don't think most investors realize how critical these two factors have become. Yes, and China does matter. Apple had some great China numbers, by the way. And the Fed does matter in terms of trying to figure out how much we should pay for stocks. But listen to this. On a day when Apple and Facebook both reported really terrific numbers, I'm now wondering if these two companies are so powerful that the good news can actually become sort of weird bad news. Has success been so politicized in this country to the point where they're afraid of crowing? Where they're muted? Apple's service revenue stream just gets better and better. If they wanted to, they could just buy the rights to the NFL. If they could buy the NFL. After all, Apple could afford it. They can afford anything. And they would bring in tens of millions of viewers if they bought the NFL Sunday Ticket. It would be perfect for the streaming service. But I suspect they won't go that way because, in some ways, they've gotten too big. They don't want to give the government more of an excuse to crack down. Plus, Apple CEO Tim Cook pretty much assured me tonight when I spoke to him that they will grow content themselves. They don't want to be a catalog. That's fine. But you know what? I long for the old days when I preferred world domination via acquisition. Or at least I did until politics reared its ugly head, or her head to be ecumenical. Facebook. They're trying to develop a cryptocurrency. I don't know, it seemed good to me. It's kind of a novel idea. But they faced enormous resistance from Congress. As I was watching the House turn Mark Zuckerberg into a piñata not long ago, all I could think of was, well, what happens if Facebook wants to get into payments? And will they be allowed to? Are they going to come down hard on that? What if they want to support certain merchants? Will they be regarded as playing favorites? Anything they do now is subject to scrutiny. Heck, Twitter just stopped taking political ads because they couldn't handle the pressure. Too much hassle. Well, isn't that the new normal? These days, you need to care about this stuff. In the old days, before we had trillion-dollar companies, before we had superpowered devices that you have to pry from our cold, dead hands, before antitrust enforcement started making a major comeback, I really only cared about the numbers. How fast was this company growing? How much money was it earning? What were we willing to pay for these earnings? Here's who I was. That was me. Sure, you had to factor in the unemployment rate and wages. You had to fret about inflation. You had to worry about the Fed. Still do. Although right now the Federal Reserve's playing ball. Fed Chief Jay Powell did exactly what he needed to do today, making calm statements at his press conference where he explained why we needed a quarter-point hike, mostly because of a potential for worldwide slowdown. Potential, by the way, coupled with a sense that things aren't too crazy here in the U.S. Hey, that created a benign backdrop, which allowed a whole host of stocks to rally, especially the cloud plays, because they thrive in a slowing economy. And they really took off today. They finally turned around. Still, in the old days, you rarely needed to worry about regulation, at least not since Reagan was sworn in 38 years ago. You didn't need to consider that the consumer might not have enough hours in a day to consume all the content that the media companies were producing. But these days, these constraints have become real, and content's very expensive to produce. Thank you, Barry Diller, this morning's Squawk Box. Hey, by the way, new set. We need to start recognizing that there's simply not enough time for people to enjoy all the diversions on offer. From a stock picking perspective, that means you need to be more circumspect about these companies that require the consumer's attention. In other words, there's just too much darn competition. We've already seen it happen in the food delivery space, where Grubhub is being eaten alive by Postmates, DoorDash, Uber Eats. I think the streaming video space may just get too difficult. With so many new services launching over the next few months, maybe that's the real casualty here. The problem is there are only a handful of companies that offer you a genuinely great user experience at an incredible price. And in some ways, those companies have become too successful for their own good. And those companies are Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Alphabet. They've become so big and so powerful that the regulators and many in Congress want to put a stop to their expansion. They certainly won't be allowed to keep consolidating. Now, it might be more convenient for us if Facebook owned Twitter and Snap and Shopify, but that's textbook anti-competitive behavior, and the regulators now will never allow it. It might make it an easier viewing experience if Apple owned the rights to the NCAA, the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball. Again, that ain't going to happen. Maybe it would make sense for Alphabet to acquire Walmart in order to teach Amazon a lesson. Maybe it makes sense for Amazon to take over FedEx so we can get next-day delivery anywhere on Earth. But the regulators will never allow that. And that's probably a good thing. By the way, I know they wouldn't buy Walmart, but they would buy Target. Now, we keep buying the cloud kings, and that works. Stocks like Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, on fire there, Salesforce. But you know what? They've gotten so big that they're bumping up against each other. And the government's not going to let Adobe or Salesforce roll them up. The bottom line, starting tonight, with these two big stellar earnings reports that should have generated gigantic moves in stocks, we need to recognize that for many of the largest companies in this market, companies I love, time and government antitrust enforcement are going to matter a whole lot more than the Fed going forward. You need to factor in the clock and learn to separate the things that give you more minutes from the things that devour your time. And you need to understand that the bigger Facebook and Amazon and Apple and Alphabet get, the more pushback they'll get from Washington. Fact of life. Get used to it. Cullen in New York. Cullen.
Jim, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Virgin Galactic, symbol SPCE. The stock has taken a big hit since going public earlier this week.
Sell. Oh, I'm sorry. I hit the... Well, let me just tell you. I mean, here's the way I feel about Virgin Galactic. I mean, when I come to terms with the situation, I say, well, you know what? I'm not really into it. It's a novelty. It's kind of like, it's something new and different. It belongs maybe in your closet. Bill in New Hampshire. Bill.
Jim, thank you for taking my call.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I love your show.
Thank you.
My question deals with waste management. I've had it for over 18 years. It's done extremely well, as you can imagine. Last week was a disaster. Some days it was down $3. I'm at a loss as to the reason for it. And I was wondering if anyone would know, it would be the legend. So can you help me out?
Yeah, I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you to buy it. I have a friend, Bill Detweiler from New Hampshire. This is probably not the same Bill. I don't detect the same accent. I think that Waste Management had a really good quarter. And I think that people are just down on the stock for no particular reason. Fish is good. That's not the protein that you get like when you go to Milos. That's the name of the CEO. And I think that Waste Management is plain and simple something that I thought I should be buying for the Charitable Trust, and I'm going to put it on the list tomorrow and do the work, even more work than I have. Bill, you got a winner. I'm not kidding. Waste Management's come down too much. All right, now look, I think Facebook's up big, but it should be bigger. I think Apple's up big, but not enough. And now I'm starting to worry about these unseen existential crises things like time and government, because otherwise I think these stocks would be much higher. Yes, they all look good. Hey, how about Mad Money tonight? Wingstop, which is not, by the way, worried about antitrust, stock's down nearly 16% over the past 3 months. Does the company need more than a wing and a prayer? Or is now the perfect time to take a bite? I'm going to talk to the CEO. Then, is it time to pump up the volume on Spotify, which would be an example of something that should be bought by one of these great companies, but would be shut down by antitrust? And it's an under-the-radar housing play that offers a read on the overall sector and also makes it so I don't have to do my deck one more time. I'm talking about Trax. Don't miss my exclusive for the CEO. And I may suggest that you stick with Cramer.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.